November 19th, 1942, 07:20 hours. The icy steppes north of Stalingrad tremble under the thunder of artillery. Snow whips across the horizon like a white shroud, and in the dim pre-dawn light, Soviet guns belch fire in a symphony of destruction that shakes the earth. You're there, huddled in a German forward observation post, the bitter cold seeping through your greatcoat as the first shells scream overhead. But this isn't just another barrage. This is the beginning of something unimaginable. Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus, commander of the 6th Army, paces in his headquarters at Golubinsky, a village some 30 miles west of the Volga River. His map table is cluttered with pins marking hard-won gains: the tractor factory in ruins, the grain elevator a skeleton of steel, the city's streets reduced to rubble-strewn kill zones. For months, his men have clawed their way through Stalingrad, block by block, room by room, in what Hitler has dubbed Operation Blue. The Führer's orders were clear: seize the city named after Stalin himself, cut the Volga lifeline, and crush the Soviet spirit. Paulus, a meticulous staff officer thrust into field command, believed it was within grasp. His 6th Army, bolstered by Romanian, Italian, and Hungarian allies on the flanks, had encircled the urban hellscape by early November. Reports from Luftwaffe reconnaissance showed the Red Army battered, their defenses crumbling under the weight of Stuka dive bombers and Panzer IV tanks grinding through the debris. You can almost smell the acrid smoke drifting from the bombed-out factories, hear the distant rattle of MG-42 machine guns echoing off shattered walls. Paulus's generals, men like General Arthur Schmidt, his chief of staff, and division commanders such as General Walter von Seydlitz-Kurzbach, shared his confidence. Intelligence from Abwehr agents painted a picture of Soviet exhaustion. Stalin's reserves depleted after the brutal summer campaigns, their troops ragged conscripts thrown into the meat grinder with little more than Mosin-Nagant rifles and Molotov cocktails. The Russians are finished, Paulus had wired Berlin, echoing Hermann Göring's boast that the Luftwaffe could supply any trapped forces if needed. The Wehrmacht's blitzkrieg had conquered vast swaths of the Soviet Union. Why should Stalingrad be different? But as the sun struggles to rise that November morning, the artillery isn't German, it's Soviet. General Georgy Zhukov, the iron-fisted strategist who saved Moscow the year before, has been plotting in secret. Operation Uranus, named for the god of the heavens, unleashes hell from the north and south. Over 1 million Red Army soldiers, hidden in the vast steppes, surge forward. T-34 tanks, their sloped armor shrugging off German anti-tank rounds, rumble across the frozen Don River bridges captured intact from unsuspecting Romanians. Katyusha rocket launchers, the Stalin's organs as the Germans call them, shriek their payloads, turning Axis positions into infernos. In the Romanian 3rd Army sector, north of the city, panic spreads like wildfire. Colonel General Dumitrescu's troops, ill-equipped for winter and stretched thin over 100 miles, face the brunt. Their 37mm POC guns bounce harmlessly off the advancing Soviet armor, and within hours, entire divisions evaporate. Southward, the Romanian 4th Army fares no better, crumbling under General Nicolae Vatutin's southwestern front. Paulus receives the first frantic radio messages: enemy breakthrough, tanks everywhere, reserves overwhelmed. He dismisses them at first. Flank attacks are common, easily contained. But as reports flood in, a chill unrelated to the -20°C temperatures settles in his command bunker. You feel the tension rising, the map pins suddenly meaningless. Paulus orders counterattacks, shifting panzer divisions from the city fight to plug the gaps. But the Soviets aren't attacking the 6th Army head-on. They're encircling it, pinching off the flanks like a noose tightening around a neck. By midday, Zhukov's forces have penetrated 30 miles deep, linking up near Kalach on the Don. The Germans dare in disbelief. Where did these endless waves come from? Intelligence had estimated Soviet strength at a fraction of this. Stalin's factories beyond the Urals, relocated in 1941, have churned out thousands of T-34s, fueled by Lend-Lease trucks from America delivering supplies across Persia. The Red Army's endless reserves, Siberian divisions hardened by Arctic winters, fresh troops from the Far East, pour in, their greatcoats white with camouflage, bayonets fixed. Paulus cables Berlin, situation developing rapidly. Hitler, in his Wolf's Lair, demands the city be held at all costs. Goering promises air supply, 250 tons a day, he swears. But as night falls on November 19th, the noose draws tighter. The 6th Army, once conquerors, now teeters on the edge of isolation. Whispers among the staff officers grow. How many more Soviets are out there? The steppes seem alive with them, shadows moving in the blizzard. And just as the encirclement closes, a lone Ju-52 transport plane lifts off from Gumrak airfield inside the pocket, carrying wounded, the last to escape freely. What Paulus doesn't yet know is that this is no mere counterattack. It's the hinge of fate swinging shut.
November 23, 1942, 14:30 hours. Kalach Bridge, 50 miles west of Stalingrad. A Soviet T-34-76 rolls to a halt on the frozen dawn, its turret hatch flung open. Out climbs Colonel Filippov of the 26th Tank Corps, grinning through frost-crusted beard. Across the ice, another T-34 approaches from the south, Major General Kravchenko's 4th Mechanized Corps. The two commanders embrace amid the roar of engines, shaking hands over a crumpled map. In that single moment, the trap snaps shut. 270,000 German, Romanian, and Croatian troops, 22 divisions of the vaunted 6th Army, are now sealed inside a pocket 25 miles wide and 35 miles long. The Kessel is born. Back in Golubinsky, Paulus receives the news like a punch to the gut. His chief of staff, General Schmidt, slams the decoded message onto the table. Kalach is lost. The flanks are gone. We are encircled. Paulus stares at the map, the red arrows now forming a perfect oval around his army. You can almost see the color drain from his face beneath the flickering lantern light. For the first time, the meticulous planner, who once lectured at the War Academy, has no contingency. He reaches for the telephone to Berlin, demanding permission to break out westward while the corridor is still narrow. Hitler's voice crackles back over the secure line. No retreat. Stalingrad will be held. You will be supplied by air. Goering, ever the showman, chimes in, "My Luftwaffe will deliver everything you need. Trust me." Trust. That word hangs in the freezing air like a bad joke. Outside, the temperature plunges to -30 degrees Celsius. German sentries stamp their feet in snow-filled trenches, their Mauser rifles stiff with ice. Inside the city ruins, snipers from Vasily Zaitsev's school pick off anyone foolish enough to light a cigarette. The Volga behind them is frozen solid, but Soviet artillery on the far bank never stops. Each shell that lands is a reminder, the Red Army isn't going anywhere. Paulus orders General Hans Valentin Hubei's 14th Panzer Corps to attempt a breakout toward Kalach. Hubei, the one-armed veteran of France and Barbarossa, assembles 80 tanks and half-tracks at dawn on November 24. Engines cough to life in the sub-zero cold, but as the column rolls west, Soviet anti-tank guns hidden in the gullies open fire. T-34s appear like ghosts through the snow squalls, their 76mm guns punching through Panzer IVs at 1,500 meters. By dusk, Hubei is back where he started, -40 tanks and 2,000 men. He radios Paulus with brutal honesty. Breakout impossible without total abandonment of the city. Orders? Paulus has none. Hitler has forbidden it. That night, the first Luftwaffe supply planes drone overhead, Ju-52s and He-11s flying from Tatsinskaya Nefield 180 miles away. Tracer rounds stitch the sky as Soviet night fighters and flak batteries greet them. Only a fraction land at Gumrak and Potomnik airfields inside the pocket. When the crates are cracked open, soldiers expecting ammunition and fuel instead find crates of summer uniforms, medals, and, absurdly, thousands of condoms. A bitter laugh ripples through the frozen ranks. One private scrawls on a ruined wall, "Goering promised us bread, he sent us rubber." Paulus convenes his corps commanders in a cramped cellar lit by a single kerosene lamp. General von Seydlitz-Kurzbach, whose 51st Corps holds the northern shoulder, slams his fist on the table. "We are sacrificing the finest army Germany has ever fielded for a propaganda name on a map." Others nod. Schmidt, loyal to the end, reminds them of the oath to the Führer. The room falls silent except for the distant crump of katyushas. For the first time, the word surrender is whispered, then immediately crushed. Not yet, not while there's hope of relief. Outside, the pocket shrinks daily. Zhukov tightens the ring like a python. Soviet speakers blare across no man's land. German soldiers, your generals lied. You are surrounded. Lay down your arms and live. Leaflets flutter down, showing steaming bowls of borscht and smiling prisoners. Some men pocket them for toilet paper. Others stare too long. And then, on November 27th, a new sound echoes across the steppe, the roar of heavy engines from the west. Rumors race through the bunkers. Manstein is coming. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, the mastermind of the France campaign, has been given Army Group Dawn and a rescue mission codenamed Winter Storm. Panzer divisions are massing near Kotelnikovo. Hope flickers in frostbitten hearts. But 120 miles of snow-swept steppes separate Manstein from the pocket, and the Red Army is already digging in. Paulus pins his last hopes on a man who once outfoxed the French, praying he can do it again, against a foe that seems to have no end.
December 12, 1942, 0530 hours. Kotelnikovo railhead, 100 miles south of the pocket. Exhaust plumes rise like ghosts as engines of the 6th Panzer Division warm in the darkness. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein stands on a frozen platform, greatcoat collar turned up, watching Tiger tanks, those 57-ton monsters with 88mm guns, being unloaded from flat cars. His breath fogs the air as he turns to General Hermann Hoth, commander of the 4th Panzer Army. "We have 12 days, Manstein says quietly. 12 days before the 6th Army starves or freezes. Begin." Operation Winter Storm ignites like a flare in the night. Leading the spearhead is the 23rd Panzer Division under General Hans von Funk, followed by the fresh 17th Panzer and the veteran 6th. For the first time in weeks, German soldiers inside the pocket hear friendly engines. Distant, yes, but growing louder. Radios crackle with hope. Manstein is moving, hold fast. Inside Stalingrad, Paulus rations the rations. Daily bread allocation drops to 200 grams, then 100, then 50. Men boil belt leather and scrape wallpaper paste for calories. At Pitomnik airfield, the wounded lie in rows on straw, their frostbitten limbs blackening. Doctors saw without anesthesia while Ju-52s try to land between shell bursts. One pilot, Lieutenant Heinrich Müller, manages 3 sorties in a single day, each time bringing in 2 tons of bread and flying out 30 wounded, until a Yak-1 fighter stitches his fuselage and sends him spiraling into the snow. Back south, Hoth's panzers slice forward. On the first day, they cover 30 miles, smashing through the Soviet 51st Army. Prisoners stream rearward, hands high, shouting "Stalingard kaput" in broken German. Tiger commander Oberleutnant Emil Seibold records his first 5 kills in a single engagement near Verfne Kumsky, the 88mm gun punching through T-34s like paper. For 48 hours, it feels like 1941 again, the old blitzkrieg magic reborn. Zhukov reacts instantly. He pulls the entire 2nd Guards Army, elite units fresh from Moscow reserves, off the train and hurls them straight into the path. General Rodion Malinovsky, commanding the defense, digs his rifle divisions into the snowy hills along the Mishkova River. Anti-tank ditches appear overnight. Mines sprout like frost flowers, and T-34/76s wait hull down behind every ridge. December 19th, the spearhead reaches the Mishkova, 35 miles from the pocket's southern edge. Manstein's forward units can actually see the distant flares above Stalingrad at night. Paulus is ordered to prepare a breakout codenamed Donnerschlag, Thunderclap. Hube's remaining 60 tanks are fueled and loaded. Men stuff their pockets with the last crumbs of hardtack, whispering that Christmas will be spent in freedom. But Paulus hesitates. Hitler has forbidden any withdrawal from the Volga. The fortress holds, the Führer insists from the Wolf's Lair, 1,500 miles away. Manstein pleads over the radio, "Authorize Thunderclap now or the army is lost." The reply is silence, then a curt refusal. General Schmidt, ever the loyalist, argues against disobeying. Seidlitz-Kurzbach screams that it's suicide to wait. Paulus, exhausted, racked by dysentery, his face gaunt as a skull, cannot bring himself to defy the oath. The breakout order is never given. December 23rd, Mishkova River Line,
Temperature -38 degrees. Hoth attacks again, desperate to force the river. Tigers grind forward through waist-deep snow, but Soviet artillery has zeroed every crossing. A single KV-1 heavy tank under Lieutenant Pavel Korchagin holds a bridge for 6 hours, knocking out 7 panzers before brewing up in flames. By nightfall, the German advance stalls. Fuel is down to fumes. Ammunition crates are empty. Manstein radios Paulus one final time. "I cannot reach you without your help. Break out now or it is over." That same night, the Red Army launches Operation Little Saturn. Northwest of the pocket, Soviet tanks smash into the Italian 8th Army along the Don. In 72 hours, an entire army ceases to exist. The airfield at Tatsinskaya, Manstein's main supply base, falls to Soviet cavalry, who gallop in on shaggy ponies, sabers flashing. 26 Ju-52s are captured on the ground. The Luftwaffe's air bridge collapses overnight. Inside the Kessel, the last hope dies with the distant rumble of artillery moving away to the west. A soldier writes in his diary, "Manstein came so close we could almost touch him. Then he was gone." Paulus stares at the map, the red ring now unbreakable. He finally understands, there will be no rescue. The endless reserves that generals laughed about in November have become an avalanche, and the 6th Army is buried beneath it.
January 8th, 1943, 800 hours. Inside the shrinking pocket, a Soviet major stands on a knocked-out Panzer IV, megaphone in gloved hand. His voice booms across the snow-choked ruins. "German soldiers of the 6th Army, you have fought bravely, but further resistance is pointless. Lay down your arms and you will be fed, warmed, and treated humanely. You have until 1,000 hours tomorrow. After that, no mercy." The ultimatum, signed by General Rokossovsky himself, flutters down in thousands of leaflets. In cellars and bunkers, men read by candle stubs. Some laugh bitterly, some cry, most just stare. Paulus receives the message in his new headquarters, a damp basement under the Unervamag department store on the city's central square. His uniform hangs loose on a frame that has lost 30 pounds. Dysentery racks him every hour. He dictates a refusal to Berlin. The 6th Army will fight to the last man and the last round. Hitler cables back a single word: hold. Then, in a flourish of delusion, he promotes Paulus to General Feldmarschall, effective immediately. No German field marshal has ever surrendered an army. The message is clear: die or win. But dying is already in full swing. The pocket is now a 12 by 8 mile oval of hell. Daily Luftwaffe deliveries have fallen to 40 tons, less than a single U-52 load, against a minimum need of 700. Horses are slaughtered and eaten raw. Men chew boot leather soaked in machine oil. Typhus and dysentery sweep through the ranks like silent artillery. At Potomnik Airfield, the last functioning strip, thousands of wounded lie in the snow waiting for planes that never come. When a Hay-111 finally lands, soldiers storm it, clawing past the pilots. One doctor shoots 3 men to restore order. January 10, Rokossovsky's deadline expires. Operation Ring begins. Soviet artillery opens the overture. 2,000 guns and Katyushas firing in rolling barrages that walk across the pocket like the footsteps of God. T-34s of the 21st and 65th Armies roll forward behind the shells, crushing frozen corpses under their tracks. In the northern sector, General Batov's troops storm the tractor factory ruins. German strongpoints, machine gun nests in basements, 75mm guns dragged into stairwells, fight room by room. A lieutenant named Fritz Lankana holds a single apartment block for 6 hours with a Panzerfaust and a crate of grenades before a Soviet flamethrower ends the stand. Paulus moves his command post again, this time to the cellar of a wrecked school. The walls shake with each impact. Shell fragments whistle through ventilation pipes. His staff officers beg him to surrender the army. Seydlitz Kurzbach has already released his own 51st Corps from obedience 2 days earlier, telling his men to save themselves. Courts-martial are threatened, but never carried out. There is no time, no fuel, no will.
January 16, the western half of the pocket falls. Potomnik airfield is overrun. Soviet tanks park on the runway, using captured German wounded as human shields against the last Luftwaffe sorties. Gumrock, the final airstrip, becomes a scene out of Dante. Thousands of frostbitten men stumbling through knee-deep snow toward planes that circle once and turn away, unable to land under fire. One pilot, Hans-Ulrich Rudel, lands his Stuka anyway, takes off with 20 wounded clinging to the wings, and makes it back to safety. He is the exception. January 22, Gumrock falls. The air bridge is dead. Now the only way out is on foot, east, across the Volga ice into Soviet captivity, or west into the same. Most choose to stay in their holes, too weak to move. Paulus, half delirious with fever, is carried on a stretcher to his final command post, a tiny storeroom beneath the Unervermag. A single candle gutters. Maps are gone, the walls are blank. Around him, his last staff officers sit in silence. Outside, the Red Army is 800 yards away. You can hear their boots crunching through the rubble, their voices calling out in German, "Stavайся, surrender." January 30. Hitler's voice crackles over the radio one last time, broadcasting to the nation. The 6th Army under Field Marshal Paulus has fought to the last man. They will never surrender. In the storeroom, Paulus listens without expression. A junior officer asks what they should do. Paulus whispers, "I no longer have any orders to give." That night, Soviet Lieutenant Fyodor Ilchenko of the 38th Motorized Rifle Brigade kicks open the storeroom door. Flashlights sweep over hollow-eyed men in filthy greatcoats. Ilchenko's eyes lock on the silver epaulets of a field marshal. Paulus raises his hand slowly. "I am the commander of the 6th Army," he says in perfect Russian. Ilchenko salutes, out of respect for a beaten foe, and offers a cigarette. January 31, 1943, 07:15 hours. The northern pocket surrenders en masse. Red flags rise over the Barricadi factory and the grain elevator. By noon, 91,000 Germans, starving, frostbitten, lice-ridden, shuffle into columns under Soviet guards. Only 6,000 will ever see Germany again. Paulus is flown to Moscow in an Li-2 transport, wrapped in blankets. As the plane climbs over the ruins, he looks down at the white wasteland that swallowed his army. The endless reserves he once refused to believe in have won. The hinge of the war has swung irrevocably. And somewhere far below, in 1,000 frozen cellars, the last shots echo into silence.
February 2, 1943, 1600 hours. Stalingrad is quiet for the first time in 163 days. No artillery thunders, no engines roar. Only the wind howls through skeletal buildings and over the endless white graves of the steppe. Soviet soldiers walk the ruins in stunned awe, kicking through piles of German helmets, shattered MG-42s, and frozen bodies locked in final poses, some still clutching photographs of wives and children back home. A young private named Yuri finds a diary in a dead lieutenant's pocket. The last entry, dated January 30, reads, "We were told we were the spearhead of history. We are only its victims." In Moscow, Stalin receives the victory report over breakfast. He raises a glass of tea and says simply, "To the motherland." Then he asks how many prisoners were taken. When told 91,000, he nods. Good, they will rebuild what they destroyed. The survivors, those who can still walk, are marched west in columns that stretch for miles. Guards hand out bread and hot soup at way stations. Some Germans collapse and die with the first warm food in their stomachs. Others stare at the endless horizon and whisper, "Where did they all come from?" They still can't believe it. The Red Army that greeted them in June 1941 was a broken thing. The one that buried them in February 1943 seemed to have no end. Paulus sits in a dacha outside Moscow, under NKVD guard, but treated with the strange courtesy reserved for high-ranking captives. He is given books, decent meals, and a radio that plays only Soviet stations. Every night he wakes screaming from dreams of snow and shells. Interrogators ask the same question. Why didn't you break out when Manstein was 35 miles away? Paulus has no answer that satisfies even himself. In the quiet hours, he writes letters to his wife Coca, never delivered, apologizing for failing her, for failing his men, for believing the impossible. Back in Germany, the news breaks on February 3. Goebbels orders 3 days of radio silence, then a somber announcement. The 6th Army has fulfilled its duty to the last man. Church bells toll across the Reich. Black crepe appears in windows. Mothers who had pinned their hopes on Christmas rescues now receive telegrams that simply say, "Missing in action." In private, generals like Guderian and von Rundstedt read the casualty lists and understand the truth. The Wehrmacht has lost its aura of invincibility. The best army Hitler ever fielded, 270,000 men, 2,500 tanks at the start of Case Blue, is gone. Not defeated in open battle, but erased by encirclement, starvation, and a foe that simply refused to run out of soldiers. On the Eastern Front, the ripple spreads like a shockwave. Soviet armies surge west, recapturing Kursk, Kharkov, Rostov. German soldiers in other sectors hear the name Stalingrad and feel the cold deeper in their bones. Desertions rise. Letters home speak of the Russian steamroller. Hitler rages in the Wolf's Lair, firing generals, promoting loyal non-entities, demanding new wonder weapons that exist only on drawing boards. But the spell is broken. The Red Army has learned how to fight and win on its own terms. Years later, Paulus will testify at Nuremberg, a thin, gray figure in a borrowed suit, condemning the war he once led. He will live quietly in East Germany, tended by a Soviet orderly, until his death in 1957. The 91,000 who marched into captivity will mostly vanish into the Gulag snows, only a handful returning after Stalin's death. Their graves lie unmarked across the Volga steppe, slowly reclaimed by grass and time. But on this February morning in 1943, as the sun rises red over the ruins, a Soviet cameraman films the final scene. A lone T-34 park atop Mamayev Kurgan, the hill that changed hands a dozen times and cost 100,000 lives. A young lieutenant climbs onto the turret, plants a red flag, and salutes. The camera pans across the endless white desolation below. No triumphant music, no voiceover, just silence. And in that silence, the war turned.